before we get rained on here. Got rain coming out of nowhere. Welcome back to the channel. So today we are working on Jason's truck again. I told you more mods were coming, and here is the next one. So today from 589 Fabrication, we have some bed stiffener brackets. So these ones go in the front corners of the bed underneath, and basically you take out the bed bolt, you pull it down, you set this bracket on top of it, you start snugging it back up, and then there's a slot that these brackets drop down into from the bed side, and then it all kind of sandwiches together. So we'll get the wheel off and get the fender liner out and kind of show you where it's got to go and how to do that. All right, so we've got a couple of these little torques. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and possibly 7, but we're only going to move this front portion. The piece we need to get to is right behind here, so we just want to move it out of the way enough to access it back there. So they are a T15 Torx, and we're just going to pop them out of here real quick. With those out, I should be able to just move the felt out of the way. Careful of the clips. And this has a seam in the middle. Just fold it over itself so you can get it back. And right in here is that bracket that we're going to get to. So we will get that bolt out of there. I believe it's a 19 millimeter. I'll confirm that in a second, and then I'll show you the area that we're trying to get up into. All right. So the fender liner, there is one more screw up here in the top, up in here, that you can pull out. And then once you get that, as you can see, you can kind of pull it back out of the way. Once that's back out of the way, there's this inner panel right here. This inner panel has 8 10 millimeter screws in it, and then this panel comes off. You don't necessarily need to take this panel off, but it's going to make getting to that bracket back up in there a lot easier. As you can see, we got to drop a bracket in behind that little crack up there, so having this out of the way will be that much easier. So I'm going to hand the camera off to Jason and pull those 10 mils out real quick. And now you can see we have much better clearances to get in here and drop those brackets in here. So let's get a, like I said, I believe it is a 19 millimeter for this one right down here. And we will loosen that up, and then I'll show you kind of how that bracket fits in here. All right, so just confirm this bolt is not a 19, it's an 18 millimeter. But basically this bracket, the larger one, is going to sit on top like this, and then the smaller bracket is going to drop down inside through that hole, and then this little shelf here is going to sit on top of that, and these two holes line up with those two holes on the inside, and then these bolt together. So we'll get all this set up and bring you back. So with this bolt, if you can see that, you don't have to take it all the way out because it actually has a smooth top on it. So when you go to drop your bracket onto it, it'll give it a place to locate. But we're going to put that one up there in first and get those located. Now this bracket does have an opening in it. So when we drop this in, we're going to start the bottom screw first to secure this bracket to where it doesn't just drop all the way in. And that way, it'll just basically slide on there and lock into it as we go. So we'll get one of the bolts that are right over here. And they do come with a nice zinc plated, looks like grade 8 bolt. Has all the markings of the grade 8, but it's not stamped, so I'm going to say it's grade 8. And we'll get one of these and get that set up. There are also installation instructions that come with it. When we looked at them, it was somewhat vague, but not as detailed as what we're trying to do. So hopefully this helps. So it only goes about halfway in, and then it kind of binds up. If you look at this bracket, there's a slit in the middle of it. That's a relief point. So as you go to put it in, it's going to want to bend a little bit before it drops the rest of the way in to match with the contour of this. That's perfectly fine. Just wiggle it on down in there. Now, don't let it go until you get that bolt started. I don't think it would drop past that L bracket, but we don't want to find out. I was incorrect. It does not sit in there like this. It sits in there like this. So, make note of that. Alright, so with it sitting in there like this, the bracket on the inside actually won't go in here. So you have to pull that bolt, slide the bracket up a little bit, put this bracket in, then drop it down into place. So, not sure why this is slotted like that, but it doesn't go the way that you would think it goes. So let me get that taken care of. So that was actually easier doing it that way than the first way. We'll get our second bolt started, and we're not going to tighten these bolts down until after we retighten this one, but we're definitely going to get them both started and snug to where they're in position before we tighten everything down. So now we've got these snugged up. These are a 14 millimeter, by the way. So tools needed is a T15 Torx, 10 millimeter, 18 millimeter, and a 14 millimeter. So these are hand snug, nothing crazy. Stuff will still move around if we need it to. Now we're going to tighten this one down. Make sure that you're keeping an eye through this little slot, that it is actually tightening, because the threads have got to be in time with the threads on the bottom, because you're basically going through two nuts at the same time. So we'll get that one snugged up real quick, and then we'll tighten up the other ones. Alright, that's nice and tight. Now we'll tighten down these. And if you're going to be doing some serious off-roading, it's probably not a bad idea to put a little bit of blue Loctite on these, just so they don't rattle loose. Alright, that side is done. Put your panel back in, put your carpet back in, do the other side. That simple. Alright. As you're reassembling, if you can see about 1.5 inches to the left of the blue pry tool, you can see where the fender liner is on the inside of the fender. This is what's a pain to get back in. It needs to be on the outside of the fender. So you have to manipulate that all the way down. Just take your time. These little trim tools definitely help. But take your time, make sure that it gets in there correctly, because that's what prevents all the dirt and debris from getting up inside of your inner fenders and creating rock dents and everything else. So the best way that I figured this out is get your trim tool, pry it back a little bit, and then I've got my arm up in and my fingers are actually on the back side here, feeding it under, and then just working it down. And then as you get to your trim tool, just remove it, move it down a little more, put it behind, give some tension, and then work your fingers back and forth until it gets into position. And you can do that basically the whole way down. Until everything's in place. All right, on the passenger side, that panel is not removable, but there is room to get your hand up under here and maneuver it around. So I would definitely suggest starting on the driver's side so you get a good feel for it, and then move over to the passenger side where when you got to kind of go by touch, you know what you're looking for. All right, so on the passenger side, you're going to be working basically 100% by feel. So definitely do the driver's side first. The easiest way to access is put your back here right where the cab meets the bed and reach your arm back up at this angle. You can get to everything pretty easily, but I'm going to get this all slammed back together before we get rained on here. Got rain coming out of nowhere. All right, well, we got it all done. Looks like just in time before the storm's hitting. So, I mean, realistically, it took us, I don't know, maybe 2 hours to see, get it all installed. The passenger side was definitely more difficult than the driver's side, so I would recommend starting on the driver's side, like I said earlier, to where you have a feel for it and kind of what you're doing, because the passenger side, you're 100% blind on everything. But Jason did get his custom plate in, so let's take a look at it here, and let's see. So his plate, there's no extra characters or anything. It's 7 individual words, and it's a full acronym. So drop down in the comments and tell me what you think it says, and next week I'll drop in the comments and I'll tell you what it actually says. I think it's hilarious. He thinks it's hilarious. I'm surprised that he got away with it, but I'll give you a hint. It's off-road truck related, but keep a dirty mind. All right, that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed. Hope this helped somebody out. And any questions or comments, feel free to drop them down below. And I'll throw a link to the brackets in the description as well. As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.